Indian American families in Texas, what is a pour over will? So I was having this conversation with somebody the other day where, they were telling me, Ramana, look, we're doing a trust for ourselves because we want our kids to avoid probate. We don't want them to go through, court interference and so on. So we're doing a revocable living trust. But why are we also doing something called a pour over will? Because, we're not doing a will, right? If you did a will, then I would go to probate court. So once we're doing a revocable living trust, why are we also doing something called a pour over will along with the revocable living trust? One of the big things with a revocable living trust is to actually fund the trust. So what that basically means is the analogy I like to give is, think of the revocable living trust like a child's backpack. If you think about all the stuff that's in the child's backpack, there could be, a lunchbox, there could be books, there could be stationery, right? Similarly, your revocable living trust is like that child's backpack. Whatever assets that you put inside that backpack avoids probate. So you could put real estate, you could put crypto, you could put bank accounts, right? All these things that you put inside the bag just magically avoid probate. That means they can be transferred to your surviving spouse, to your kids, without any court interference. But sometimes what happens is, life happens, and then some assets just don't get funded into the trust, like they're not retitled in the name of the revocable living trust. And we don't want, those assets to just go through the probate process without any instructions whatsoever. So the pour over will is like a safety net, right? It catches everything that is not funded into the trust. So whatever is poured over from the revocable living trust, whatever is not funded into the revocable living trust, the pour over will catches. And those assets will still have to go through probate, but at least there are some instructions there, right? The instruction will say, whatever is not funded, that that just has to go back to the revocable living trust. So that way, at least there are some instructions for, if you ever accidentally buy a house in your own name and you don't fund the revocable living trust, or you don't buy it in the name of the trust, or if you have an existing asset and you haven't retitled it in the name of the revocable living trust, the pour over will catches that. And while it has to go through probate, at least there are some instructions in place that just put it back into the revocable living trust, and that is the place where all my instructions are set.